All right. Well, we are entering into the Christmas holiday, and I have noticed that as people are talking about Christianity out there in the world, that often people snarkily liken faith in Jesus, faith in God, to belief in Santa Claus. I don't know if you've ever heard that. They always say, oh, well, Santa Claus is real too. Have you ever heard of that? Well, I just want to talk about good faith and bad faith. And that's been coming up on social media lately, and I think it's kind of an important thing. I had a discussion with some atheists not long ago, and we started talking about faith. And as a Christian, you do say, well, I make the decision to put my faith in certain things. The question is, what's the difference between good faith and bad faith within the Christian community? For instance, there's people who call themselves Christian. They lived in a place called Waco, Texas, and they put a lot of faith, it was actually bad faith, in a man named David Koresh. Thank you, Dave. David, resurrected possibly, talk about bad faith. And David Koresh, he was giving them bad faith information, and yet they followed it. They were Christian, but it was bad faith. We live in a state, Utah, and we broadcast out of here. And it has a church, and there's a lot of good people in it, and they as a people, they're good, and even maybe Christian saved, I don't know. But in terms of their faith, it's really kind of sketchy because they believe a lot of things. They believe their founder, born in 1820 or 1806, his name is actually found in the book of Genesis. And that's kind of taken a leap of bad faith in my estimation. They believe that he carried around like a 126-pound block of gold plates, ran with them, fought off robbers while holding them, and then translated a book called the Book of Mormon from those plates, and then an angel came and took the plates back up into heaven. I don't know. To me, that's sort of borderlining on Santa Claus faith. I mean, people say, well, Santa Claus and believing in God are the same thing. Well, there's a big difference. When you look about Santa Claus, for instance, how does he get around the world in one night? And how does he get down the chimney of every house? And how does he deliver all those toys? How does Santa Claus really do that? I mean, we liken God to Santa Claus, and we think it's so smart, but there really isn't a comparison here. Now, if you're taking something like a rose or a grand oak tree or a pot of dolphins swimming or the majestic Rocky Mountains, and you look at the cosmos and you see things like that, then you can say there was a creator of this, or this was not created by any intelligent being. You have evidence, at least. The atheist says there was no creative being who did this. I look at evidence, which is good evidence. It's not Santa Claus putting toys in everybody's living room. It's something we live in and see. And we say, here's the evidence we see. Okay, now we decide if we're going to place our faith based off that evidence that's before us. The atheist says, yeah, to me it's bad faith. And they say no. The Christian says, there's enough evidence here that I'm going to say, I think there's a creator. I think there's a God. So not everything in the Christian community is good faith. There's some really bad faith stories out there. But the whole point of the show tonight is to just point out to you, if you're considering a life of faith where you acquiesce to the idea that you don't have all the answers, but there's enough reasonable evidence in front of you to say, I'm going to trust that there is a God behind this. I'm going to trust that there are afterlife promises that will be met. That's good faith, and never be ashamed of reasonable good faith. Never be ashamed in this world of saying, I live by faith. We kind of get ashamed sort of in our world today. There's a lot of people criticizing faith. But in reality, the atheist is expressing just as much faith as I am in a creator. They just say, my faith says there's no creator. They are looking at the evidence and putting a faith in there being no creator. It's a negative faith, but in the same way, it is an expression of a belief of one way or another. And I'm just saying and suggesting that when it comes to your good, reasonable faith that you base your Christian walk on, never be embarrassed. Never be ashamed of good faith. Out.